Enjoying the program today. Well, with the Australian Ashes team due in Britain in just 2 weeks, the English cricket hierarchy is still agonising over the future of captain Graham Gooch. Gooch's future has been in doubt since the disastrous India tour, and now he's indicated he wants to step aside midway through the Ashes series for a younger captain. Our man in London, Chris Reason, asked him about the exclusive Jockey Club, which says it will report before too long on what happened and how to prevent a repeat. John Wiseman looks back now on British racing's greatest failure.
Not quite the latest in fashion on Britain's racecourses this week, rather the Jockey Club's low-tech response to its very high-profile problem. It's outfitted recall men, those supposed to stop the runners after a false start, in coloured coats, even two-way radios. Otherwise, its only other immediate response to the grand national disaster was an apology.
The stewards wish to express their profound regret generally to all supporters of racing, and particularly to the racegoers at Aintree and the connections and riders of the horses taking part, that this great national event was the cause of so much disappointment and frustration.
It hardly seemed enough after all the chaos of the previous weekend. Various factors are being blamed for the fiasco. The animal rights demonstrators who managed to hold up the start. The starter, now branded Captain Calamity, for his stringent adherence to the rules after one false start. The horses and riders for being too keyed up and edging too close to the tape. And of course the recall man, paid the equivalent of around $60 to run out in front of the field if there's a false start. But many believe the lofty leaders of British racing should look at themselves, their archaic ways and failure to adopt modern technology.
The authorities have to have a look at themselves. And the fact that there's been several warnings of instances. We've had void races. I've witnessed one and ridden in another this season.
Throughout the week, the papers have lambasted the racing establishment. The shambles lent itself to the headline writers. Likewise, television news was dominated by the issue and how it could be prevented.
What about starting stalls? I gather the Australians managed to use them for their jump meetings?
Yes, a possibility, but no more. In Australia, they're little fine thoroughbred type horses. Here, we have big Irish-bred chasers. To get 40 of those in a line across the course be pretty difficult, but not impossible.
As bookmakers across Britain handed back more than $150 million in bets, their biggest day of the year, they were wanting the race rerun.
We would say that this is more than just a horse race. I mean, it is the Grand National. It's the greatest sporting occasion in the British calendar. And I think that everything should be tried. We're willing to speak to anyone who is interested in trying to restage it, wherever and whenever that might be.
In the end, though, they dropped those demands and threats to take legal action and accepted there was little anyone could do except await the report of the Jockey Club inquiry. In London, John Wiseman reporting for Sportsworld.
Yes, that shot a reflection on it all. Well, Mr Pittman, who made the comment about those little thoroughbred types, couldn't have been at Flemington in 1988 when Empire Rose did get into the gates. They opened the back of the stalls and she went on to win the Melbourne Cup. Surely they can make those gates slightly bigger. Max Presnell joins us with Keith Hillier. We talk racing after this. Welcome back. Keith Hillier's with me and Max Presnell's with us in Sydney. Firstly to Keith, a terrific day's racing. I'd love to have been at Randwick yesterday, and the Doncaster, Max wrote during the week that he felt it was second now to the Melbourne Cup since it's been increased to $1 million, and the quality of the field yesterday was arguably the greatest in the long history of the event.
Well, a lot of people appreciated that too, Bruce, because there were 38,000 plus at Randwick yesterday. And in fact, across the border in Adelaide, at Oakbank, it looked like Woodstock. So there is a resurgence in racing. There was a big crowd too at Caulfield, and it just made you happy to be involved in the sport yesterday.
Max, welcome. I was interested in reading your comments in the Sydney Morning Herald during the week, and do you believe this race has gone past the Golden Slipper as the great race now in Sydney?
I believe it has gone past the Golden Slipper as a great race, as a better race. I think the fact that it caters for better, older, more seasoned horses over a fairer distance, 1,600 metres. Well, what was a fairer distance? Although, Bruce, I must concede that punters still favour the Golden Slipper. There was more money invested on the Golden Slipper yesterday week than on the Doncaster yesterday. So whatever the slipper has, it's golden, it's magic, and it's still a very good race. But my own personal preference is the Doncaster.
Max, it takes a lot of money to make a horse favourite in the Doncaster. You've been promising to go off for months. Now, Scalacci, 9-2 into 5-2 at one stage yesterday. He started 11-4. Did you go off?
No, Scalacci is one of my horses. I had doubts about him running the mile. I placed him second. While he's one of my horses, he's not one of my horses to the extent Naturalism is.
I can't imagine, or couldn't remember two horses from the one stable being so heavily backed in the one race, because Naturalism was 4s to 3s. I'm not sure what he absolutely SP'd at, and the other horse was 9-2 to 5-2 back out to 11-4.
Yeah, Scalacci finished 11th. He proved he's not a miler in the tough sense of the handicap mile. I thought Naturalism was very disappointing. Like Max, I'm a great fan of Naturalism.
Well, I thought he was unlucky.
What?
Did you?
Extremely unlucky.
I can't believe, Keith, what have you had in the scones today? We call them scones. Some may say that they're hash cakes after a statement like that. Scalacci struck a lot of trouble. Scalacci was beaten 2 3/4 lengths.
You mean Naturalism?
Naturalism, 2 3/4 lengths. It was a mighty performance. Perhaps he's not quite the Naturalism we saw in the spring, but don't take anything away from his run yesterday. He was giving his all at the finish. Maybe he just wasn't good enough on the day, but it was one hell of a run.
I thought he was a bit unlucky, Keith.
Did you?
He missed the kick a bit, and then he got squeezed out at about the 1,000 metres.
Okay,
Mentioned in the stewards' reports 3 times.
Okay, I don't entirely subscribe to that theory anyway. I thought maybe a re-handicap cost Soho Square a back-to-back Doncaster win, Max?
Yes, I won't argue on that score. Keith, Soho Square put up a mighty performance, as horses who handle that Randwick mile are prone to do. But over the latter stages, you'll note he's just wilts as that handicap, as that penalty gets to him. A kilo extra, I'd say a kilo less, Soho Square would have won.
Should mention the winner, Bruce.
Well,
He's the only filly in the field, barrier at 19. A great performance from Skating.
Not a bad idea. What a ride by Cooksley, and what an outstanding filly she is. Let's have a look at the Doncaster.
Stand by. Gates open, they're off in the Doncaster. Naturalism is a little slow to move. He missed it almost a length, and Ghost Story also dwelt. Bouncing out in front, Gifted Poet, Primacy fast away with Soho Square, followed by Skating. Right behind those Blue Boss, Scalacci about 6th on, settling down, followed by Kinjate. And then Durbridge and Welcome Night is out very deep, followed by Mannerism, Big Dreams. Back behind those, Pharaoh, followed by Excited Angel, Prince Salieri. A gap in the field then as they race up to the first turn by Planet Ruler, Corndale, followed by Deposition, Ghost Story, and Brawago last of all as they go around the first turn, and Gifted Poet the leader. Welcome Night second, Primacy third, Skating fourth, then Scalacci, Soho Square, Durbridge off the track, followed by Blue Boss, Excited Angel, and Kinjate, and Pharaoh very wide at the 800 mark, followed by Mannerism. Further back is Corndale, and then Prince Salieri, followed by Big Dreams. Naturalism is a mile back with Planet Ruler, Ghost Story, Deposition, and Brawago absolute last as they come to the corner in the Doncaster. Gifted Poet the leader. In second place is Primacy. Running third as they swing the corner is Welcome Night, followed by Skating, Soho Square. Scalacci easing out about 5 deep to make his run, followed by Durbridge, and then Pharaoh, and further back Prince Salieri as they top the rise. Gifted Poet tackled on all sides. Skating getting the rails run. Primacy joining in his Soho Square. Welcome Night and Scalacci can't go on, but the filly Skating burst to the lead. Soho Square coming after her. Jimmy Cassidy shooting for the double. Skating just in front. Soho Square inch by inches, wearing her down. They walk to the line. Skating has won the Doncaster. Skating held out Soho Square. Now third we've got Gifted Poet, Prince Salieri.
Mannerism was 5th, just behind Prince Salieri. Protested against Gifted Poet, third horse dismissed. The quality, I think, of Skating is not only the barrier, the fact she had the same weight as Primacy, who's a colt, and she was a filly. It was a fantastic ride, and Max spoke with Grant Cooksley after the event.
Yeah, well, I got a nice card across and ended up getting a nice run on the fence, so everything worked out real good.
She is obviously a well above average filly to be able to do that and beat a field of that calibre.
Yeah, she's very high class filly, you know, sort of, she's just improving all the time and getting better.
Max, will she go for the Oaks?
I'm not sure about that, Bruce. A horse like Anna Lee, a great filly of the past, could do it. There hasn't been any intention but at this stage, but it can always change. Grant Cooksley mentioned the rail. Now, Bruce, one of the most important aspects of yesterday's meeting was the cutaway rail at Randwick. It moved, it was surveyed 2.5 metres on the turn and then came back to the normal position. I've been a supporter of the plan to try this cutaway rail. When you're out 6 metres, when the rail has got a skirt bad ground and the track is smaller. Yesterday, there were distinct drawbacks with it. Now, not so much in the Doncaster, but in the Derby. The rail was surveyed wrong. You will see Innocent King gets a terrible check. Jockeys were riding tight, as they're prone to do in Sydney, but the rail, the position of the rail, was the main excuse. You noted Cooksley said on winning the Doncaster, the beautiful rails run that skating got. Well, that was a plus for it. But I think it changed the complexion of the racing at Randwick yesterday. I don't know whether that's entirely good.
Well, let's have a look, Max, and see the prat that Innocent King gets, the bad check and the fact that he's able to get through and to win the Derby.
As they come to the crossing at the 800, they're quickening up a bit. Slight chance about 3/4. Irish Rort. Innocent King third, getting the run of the race from Air Seattle. Successful bid. Captive Edition is now being ridden along a bit, followed by Our Pompeii. Further back is Pallet, a gap then to Corregidor as they come to the 700 mark. At the head of the others then is Burst, followed by L.A. Yannick and well back Take Home Pay, the Bill and Telesto. Inside the 600 as they come around the turn and they're attacking from all sides. Slight chance, just the leader from Irish Rort. Air Seattle 3 deep, successful bidders right off the track, and then Captive Edition looking for a run. Innocent King looks to be struggling as they come over the rise, followed by Paladin Burst on the extreme outside. On top of the hill now, Slight Chance is struggling. She's headed by Air Seattle. Irish Rort, his Captive Edition coming through in the centre, and Pallet right down the outside. Air Seattle wide out, joined again by Captive Edition. Slight Chances battling on Innocent King. Innocent King is now bursting along the fence. He's coming home far the better, Innocent King, after looking well beaten. Innocent King has come again to win the Derby over Captive Edition and Air Seattle, followed by Irish Rort.
Well, Jim Cassidy on Melbourne radio yesterday was critical of the cutaway rail. He said that it made bad jockeys look good and it enabled jockeys to get a run that they couldn't create. I wonder if he still maintains that criticism after being presented with the Derby because of the cutaway rail.
Well, he had plenty to talk about, as Max found out yesterday when he chased him after that win.
Big fella. What's your money?
Good on you, Fantastic. They tried everything, we still beat him.
Yeah. What about Ronnie?
He's a super horse, mate.
Yeah. He finds some, doesn't he?
Realistically, he shouldn't. You look at the video, he shouldn't have been able to get going again because he went up the fence, and as he come down, he copped the backwash of the other couple coming round me, and I sort of half clipped its heels and come back. And then I thought, oh, well, I've just got to go to sleep for a minute and let him get balanced and work out what happened, you know.
Especially the way the race was run, you know.
Well, they sort of got good 4 or 5 lengths on me when they went.
Yeah.
And he just kept coming, and he had him beat 100 metres out.
Don't you love him? So on 3UZ yesterday, he gave it a bit of a pan and he got home.
That must have been run right on the hour, that interview, because I heard a time beep.
No, it was for another reason, Keith.
Oh, was it?
It wasn't 3 o'clock in the afternoon. He's a good horse, isn't he? And he's an exciting prospect. We've been waiting for a 3-year-old to really emerge from this group, and Redding was injured earlier on, and this one has emerged. What about the chairmans yesterday, Max? Sub-Zero, Azam, they looked a little disappointing on face value.
Yes, they were a little disappointing in face value. Just before we go past the Derby, I was a little bit disappointed with Shane Dye's tactics, taking Slight Chance to the lead. I know she won the Oaks by leading. The Oaks and a Derby are much different. I know it was a dawdling pace. I know a lot of things, but I would have preferred to see Slight Chance ridden back. The chairmans, I wouldn't give away either Azam or Sub-Zero on yesterday's run. Certainly Azam didn't seem comfortable around that rail section again. Sub-Zero, I think, is still just reaching top form. They will be competitive in the Sydney Cup.
Let's look at the chairman's handicap, the closing stages, this guide now to the Sydney Cup.
Where All Own Star is the leader. Tiakau Nick in hot pursuit. Garter King 3 deep, followed by Chasendo. Azam is under a bit of pressure now as they come to the turn. Is one off the fence and flat to the boards, followed by Sub-Zero, and then the fledgling and Big Baron carted very deep on the turn. Heads a turn for home. All Own Star tackled by Tiakau Nick. Chasendo a length and a half behind them, and then Garter King, and most of the others are struggling as they come over the rise, where Tiakau Nick and All Own Star They're fighting it out, clear of Chasendo. Tiakau Nick put the head in front of All Lone Star. Now Chasendo stoking up is coming after them. Tiakau Nick in front from Chasendo. Mercator late on the scene. Tiakau Nick is just in front and he fell in to win. Tiakau Nick wins it from either Chasendo or the fast finishing Mercator.
He didn't look comfortable, his arm, did he, with horses all around him, and he did find a bit right on the line.
He'll improve, and so too will Sub-Zero. That was a fantastic Sydney Cup trial, Bruce.
Well, Max, we're pretty proud of Golden Sword here in Victoria. We reckon he's a little special, and he showed some ability yesterday in the Carbine Club.
Yes, I think he's a horse of potential. On the figures, perhaps you wouldn't go give him rave reviews for yesterday's run, but he did look to have a lot of scope for improvement, and certainly he's a very promising racehorse.
Well, John Maher mentioned that he thought he might get 2,000 metres in October. He must have been referring to the Cox Plate because he's too old to run in the Herald Vase. Let's have a look at his performance yesterday.
Golden Sword's about 6 off the lead as they come to the turn, followed by Defensive Play, Prince of Ipoh, and then Crinoline and Hours after as they swing the corner into the straight. Play or Pay, the leader, he's classic, waiting for the cutaway, and then What a Blaze and West End, followed by Favourite Actress, and Golden Sword is now pulled to the extreme outside and is Pop the Question, and he's coming after them quickly. On top of the rise, Play or Pay, the leader, Golden Sword under the whip now is coming after him, and they've come away from the others. It's a race in two. Play or Pay just in front. Golden Sword can't quite pick him up. Play or Pay just the leader. Golden Sword inch by inches pegging him back. The favourites coming home the better, and Golden Sword got up to beat Play or Pay. They streeted the others.
Bit to learn. He's going to be taken to Queensland for experience. Well, yesterday's meeting at Caulfield was somewhat saddened, wasn't it, with the news that Jeff Murphy had died. A great trainer and a great favourite with so many people.
That's true, Bruce. He'd been a premier trainer in the state. He'd won a Melbourne Cup and a Caulfield Cup in the same year with Gurner's Lane, Cox Plates with Surround and Abdol, and he was a very popular man. He was missed. And
yes,
will
and
be.
to his family, our condolences. As we look at the Easter Cup yesterday at Caulfield, the feature event, and one of the features here, Keith, was Simon Marshall's ride. He was so cool on Coolong Road, hands and heels, bobbing finish and able to just beat Mamselle Perdue.
Well, Coolong Road carried 56 kilos. He's probably at his best on a rain-affected track. Caulfield track surface was perfect yesterday, but there's Coolong Road, the green with the pink sleeves and cap, winning the Easter Cup, giving Simon Marshall a double. He'd won earlier on another smart youngster, Never Undercharge, and Never Undercharge was the reason he stayed here in Melbourne and didn't ride in the Doncaster, and that was the bonus, the Easter Cup.
And Max, just in summary, tomorrow's meeting, some of those top horses that ran yesterday, they like Scalacci, are they likely to run in the Galaxy?
No, when I spoke to Lee Friedman, he favoured a spell for Scalacci, but he did leave the proviso open. He'd make a definite decision today, but I do think Scalacci's had enough for the time being. And Bruce, without stressing the subject, I don't think that Randwick on Doncaster Derby Day needs a cutaway rail.
Well, I think you've made your point. That's for sure. Thanks for your time, Max. Good punting tomorrow at Randwick, and also good luck to the Oakbank meeting tomorrow. It's a great favourite, and we've got the Victoria Handicap at Caulfield.
It's a dismal start to race day, Bruce, with the news of Mick Dittman's wife Maureen's problems. We extend our sympathy there and our best wishes.
That is for sure. Thanks for your time, Keith, and also to Max. A break, and we talk to Robert De Castella after this.